And we're live. What's up, everybody? Welcome to the StormCast, the world's best podcast. We're live on YouTube, Twitter, bringing you the latest and the greatest news, stories, and updates going on around the world. I hope everyone is having a good week so far. Before we get into today's Stormcast, I just want to give a quick sound check, make sure everything's. Yep, we sound good, ladies and gentlemen. Alrighty, let's jump right into today's episode. If you haven't already checked out the latest episode, episode 38, it dropped already on the Stormy and Friends YouTube channel and everywhere else you can find podcasts. That is, we talked about the government shutdown that we're currently going in, the longest government shutdown to date. And we talked about the EBT fallout, currently in a recession, and in the month of November. And if you have been receiving EBT and you checked your EBT card, well, you found out that, well, there's nothing in there, okay? We also talked about smart toilets, the homeless crisis in America, and the rise of AI, and a lot more. So go check that episode out after this episode, of course. And we are more than halfway past the halfway point of the football season. I'm going to give you guys a quick football season update. My number 13 ranked Texas Longhorns beat Vanderbilt last week, which is a huge W. We really needed that. This week we are on bye, so we get a week off and we're right back onto it. I'll give you more updates after our bye week. My Las Vegas Raiders lost to the Jacksonville Jaguars, not surprisingly. And this week we have the Broncos. Actually, tomorrow on Thursday Night Football, primetime football, we're more than likely going to lose to the Broncos. So, all my Raiders fans out there, it's been a tough season, but on the bright side, my Longhorns are doing well. So that's always good. And with that said, let's jump into some of the latest news before our main topics of today's episode. Shout out to everybody joining the live as we speak. If you do join, make sure to drop a W in the comments and in the chat, and let me know how your day's going, how your week's going so far. So let's get into our first little piece of news. So this is everything you missed this week. And actually, before we jump into that, if you haven't already followed me on Instagram, well, what are you doing? As you see right here, Icy Mick on Instagram, growing followers constantly. Here you have the story, latest. See, we update you on the latest StormCast episode posted 5 minutes ago. And if you haven't followed the StormCast Instagram, go ahead and do that as well at the StormCast. And yeah, so this is everything you missed this week. All right, so here's a roundup of the biggest news you might have missed this week, from celebrity claims and streaming milestones to major tech updates and gaming insights. First up, we have Kim Kardashian claims moon landing is fake. Okay, we all know Kim Kardashian, famous celebrity, previously married to Kanye West and a bunch of other rappers and celebrities that she's been with. But the celebrity claims, rather, the 1969 moon landing was fake, citing TikTok clips and asking, quote, "Why is the flag blowing? Why are there no stars?" NASA responded, reaffirming the mission's authenticity and reminding the public humans walked on the moon 6 times. And I want you guys to let me know down below, do you think the moon landing was fake? Personally, yeah, I do. And my main reason is, we do have advanced telescopes at this point, and we would be able to zoom in on the moon. And as they claim, there was, you know, American flags planted on the moon. And if you zoom in on the moon with the telescope, how come we can't see any flags? Where are the flags at? Right? And in the footage we've seen of the moon landing, we saw that the flag was blowing after it was planted. Well, there is no air in space. So how is that possible? Very true, Kim Kardashian. It didn't take a genius, obviously, to point that out. And there's a bunch of other reasons, obviously, like, why can't we go back to the moon? NASA apparently claims that they've lost the technology that it took to get there. That's all a bunch of baloney, if you ask me. This person in the comments says, NASA responded to Kim is funny. We're cooked if celebs are citing source TikTok. Very true. Very true. All right, next up, and things you might have missed this week, we have here Neil deGrasse Tyson warns about AI deepfakes. And in the podcast, previous episodes of the StormCast, we've talked all about celebrities being wary of their likeness being used by AI deepfakes. And here we have a astrophysicist, shout out to Neil deGrasse Tyson, addressing fake AI videos showing claiming that the earth is flat, which even fooled friends. He warned that when parody becomes deception, it crosses a line, and urged creators to use AI responsibly. Okay, so we're scary times, especially for celebrities. They're gonna be used pretty much by a lot of people to either promote their products or make fake claims and things of that nature. So yeah, very true. And we're at the point where there's nothing these celebrities or anyone of that matter, you or me, can do if someone wants to use our face to deepfake something. Okay, that's just the times we're living in. Next up, for things you might have missed this week, we have Jason the Ween raises 170K for cancer. Okay, so Jason the Ween, known for streaming on Twitch, streamer Jason the Ween and his community raised $170,000 for the American Cancer Society through live streams and donation drives, showing how online communities can mobilize support for meaningful causes. All right. Shout out to Jason the Ween. Very honorable thing you're doing with your platform to be raising 170K for cancer. Very noble of you. Shout out to Jason the Ween. Next up, for things you might have missed this week, we have Take-Two CEO says AI can't make a game like GTA. Okay, so we have talked about in previous episodes that we're going to be able to use AI to create pretty much anything that you could use need code for, and GTA set to drop next year is said to be one of the most expensive games to have ever been made or created, and they're claiming that GTA Grand Theft Auto won't be able to be replicated, or any game be able to replicate such a game like it. Okay, so Take-Two Interactive CEO Strauss Zelnick said AI could never create a game like Grand Theft Auto, emphasizing that human creativity, storytelling, and emotional design are essential to Rockstar's success. And well, I don't necessarily agree. I think we are within the next 10 to 15 years, we're going to be able to make our own video games, right? We're not even going to need other, systems, gaming systems like we did previously, relying on things like PlayStation, Nintendo, Xbox. Oh, we're going to be able to make our own games using AI. And to be able to pretty much make anything that the brain can think of. So I think they're just saying this, obviously back in their tails here. They don't want it, people to think that, why would I buy the game when I could just create it, right? But it's coming to that point, right? So I don't know. I disagree with that one. I disagree. Next up, for things you might have missed this week, we have NVIDIA market value skyrockets. NVIDIA, if you haven't already invested in NVIDIA, I recommend you go ahead and do so. Since I've invested, I've made lots of money with my stocks in NVIDIA. So we have NVIDIA's market value has jumped from $144 billion in January 2020 to around $5.1 trillion today, driven by demand for AI chips, gaming technology, and data center solutions. All right. Shout out to NVIDIA, one of my favorite companies to invest in, and I recommend you do so as well. Next up, for things you might have missed this week, we have Michael Jackson's Thriller surges on Spotify. Okay. Michael Jackson, his famous record Thriller has reached number 5 on the global Spotify chart, climbing 73 spots with 5.6767 million daily streams 43 years after its release, showing the song's enduring popularity and cultural impact. Okay, shout out to Michael Jackson, one of the best to ever do it. I read recently that Michael Jackson, after his death, has accumulated somewhere around $5 to $6 billion. So just imagine if Michael Jackson was still alive today, how much money he would have accumulated with, records or signings and, record deals and songs, how much more he would have made. So incredible legacy left by Michael Jackson. Next up, for things you might have missed this week, we have Super Sentai series ends after 50 years. Okay, Japan's Super Sentai series, which inspired the Power Rangers, one of my favorite childhood shows growing up, is ending after 50 years on air, closing a historic chapter with nearly 50 seasons of heroes, teamwork, and giant robot battles. All right. That's very sad news to hear. I used to love watching Power Rangers. All of them, all of the characters were sick. The Black Ranger was fire, the Red Ranger, super fire. They all had their own abilities, and the fights that they had with the villains were just epic and very creative, way ahead of its time. Sad to hear that Power Rangers is going to be ending. Next up on news that you might have missed this week, we have animated Hello Kitty movie announced. Warner Brothers announced an animated Hello Kitty movie set for release on July 21st, 2028, marking the character's first major Hollywood adaptation for children and nostalgic fans. All right. How many of you are Hello Kitty fans out there? Personally, I've never really been big into Hello Kitty, but I'm sure a lot of fans out there, this might be very good news and very exciting to hear. Next up on things and news you might have missed this week. Um, we have, well, that's actually it. That is it for news you might have missed this week. We react live, folks. All right. Let me know which piece of news there you found the most exciting or anticipate the most. Next up on news for the Stormcast, before we get into our main topics of the episode, we have Trump gives update on EBT food stamps. All right, as you know, uh, if you do receive food stamps, EBT, well, you didn't receive anything this month, unfortunately. President Donald Trump makes a tweet October 31st. He says here, our government lawyers do not think we have the legal authority to pay SNAP with certain monies we have available. And now two courts have issued conflicting opinions on what we can and cannot do. I do not want Americans to go hungry just because the radical Democrats refuse to do the right thing and reopen the government. Therefore, I have instructed our lawyers to ask the court to clarify how we can legally fund SNAP as soon as possible. It is already delayed enough due to the Democrats keeping the government closed through the monthly payment date. And if even we get immediate guidance, it will unfortunately be delayed while states get the money out. If we are given the appropriate legal direction by the court, it will be my honor to provide the funding. All right. Just like I did with the military and law enforcement pay. The Democrats should quit this charade where they hurt people for their own political reasons and immediately reopen the government. If you use SNAP benefits, call the Senate Democrats and tell them to reopen the government now. Here is the crying Chuck Schumer's office number, 202-224-6542. All right, so if any of you out there want to make a complaint, perhaps to the government, about your SNAP benefits being, canceled, go ahead and call that number. Okay, I find it, very odd that we have a Republican president, in office, and he still has to fight with the opposite, political side, for things like the government being closed. The fact that they still have the power to close the government baffles me personally. And yeah, that's it for that. Let's read some of the comments here. These should be interesting. These, let's see what the people have to say. This person, Pete Boy 007, says he can pass anything he wants and has done so. Now all of a sudden he has no power for SNAP. Well, just kind of like what I just said. Yeah, he still does have to, argue with both sides, and there is a House of Representatives, and it's not just the Republicans in office with him. He does have a Democrat party still to contempt with. All right, this person, Haynolard, in the comments says it's because Republicans want to pass a new bill that would kick thousands of people off Medicare and ruin the lives of millions of Americans, all because some, quote, illegals are getting free health care. By free, I mean they're also one medical emergency away from being financially ruined for the rest of their lives, like most Americans. The GOP is the cause for this shutdown. Okay, he brings up a interesting point. Republicans apparently want to cut off Medicare, um, which would be devastating for many Americans. Um, and the Republicans argue that it's because a bunch of illegals are getting free health care. So we have, conflicting points here. I want you to let me know down below what you think of this. Whether or not you think the Trump is right here, and his tweet is valid, or you think the Democrats are doing the right thing, perhaps, and restricting SNAP benefits versus Medicare being cut off. Uh, we have good and bad for both of these arguments, right? And I want you to know. Let me know down below what you think, perhaps. All right. In our next piece of news, here we have the nuclear race has reignited. The United States will carry out nuclear weapons tests for the first time since 1992, after decades of silence. Of and the stopping of nuclear tests, we have the nuclear program restarting and testing to resume after 33 years. Okay, let's see. So the last U.S. atmospheric nuclear test was in 1962. All right. Since then, all nuclear tests have been conducted underground. Okay. The last U.S. nuclear blast was the divider test in Nevada. China, Russia, and the United States haven't set off a live nuclear blast in decades. Okay. We share the biggest. Okay. So, apparently, this was in response to tests being done by foreign nuclear powers. I believe it was Russia who has recently conducted a nuclear test. I'm sure other nations such as North Korea and China, and other countries that hold nuclear weapons, I'm sure they have been conducting nuclear tests, just without our knowledge, perhaps, but or without giving that information off to the UN or whoever you report to after you conduct a nuclear test. So I think that we should have been testing nuclear weapons, just in case. What if a foreign country decides to set off a nuclear weapon onto another country, or perhaps to us? How would we respond if we haven't conducted any nuclear tests of our own since for 30 odd years? So good news, in my opinion. And this will keep us as the dominant enforcing country of warfare. This person in the comment says he's definitely trying to start a war before 2028, before he's, I guess, kicked out. His term is ended, before he's out of the office. This person says, I sense small d energy. All right. You let me know down below what you think. Pretty crazy times. And as you know, we're in the age of drones and AI and robots. So, war is not going to be fought with men anymore. Men, fighting on the front line. fighting with muskets and horseback. We now have B-1 bombers and nuclear weapons. So, you know, if a war was to happen, it would be devastating on a grand scale. Okay, next up for our pod, today's episode of news. Before we get into our main topics, we have Cybertruck police. All right, Las Vegas police unveils the world's first fleet of Tesla Cybertruck patrol vehicles. All right, let's give some volume to this video, and if you are listening to the audio form of the StormCast, I recommend you check out the visual form here on YouTube to see what's going on. All right, so actually no volume, but as you see, we have looks like the sheriff and his police rolling out a fleet of not only Tesla Cybertrucks patrol vehicles. Looks like they have a robo dog, as well as what was that? Let it load. See a robo dog there, and look like little robo tanks looking things, and some drones. All right, let's check out the next slide. So, see the volume. Yeah, there's no volume. Okay, so we just have them here unveiling. So, guys, it's here. All right, the future is here. We have Cybertrucks, robodogs. We have drones, and these are all being used by our police. So good luck to the criminals out there. If you're planning on committing a crime, I recommend you do so in a smart manner, and you plan it out very well. All right, because these police are not playing. All right, this is not good news for criminals nationwide. As you see here, the inside of the Cybertruck, very cool. I know they're bulletproof, so these are very sick. It makes sense that police would use Cybertrucks, and they're obviously advanced vehicles, the most advanced that we have to date. So here we have some more Cybertrucks, even more Cybertrucks here. Oh, and this one here looks pretty sick. It's blacked out Cybertruck. So let's read on and see what's going on. So Las Vegas police have officially deployed the world's first Tesla Cybertruck patrol fleet, a groundbreaking step toward modernizing law enforcement and enhancing officer safety, funded entirely by a private donor. Okay. The Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department, or LVMPD, received 10 customized Cybertrucks donated by tech investor Ben Horowitz and his wife Felicia, with an estimated total value of $9 million. Built by Unplugged Performance, the fleet is equipped with Starlink connectivity, tactical gear storage, that is, upgraded batteries, off-road suspension, and other advanced patrol systems. Each area command will receive one vehicle, set to roll out within the next 2 weeks. The Cybertruck fleet marks the first fully operational lineup of its kind in the United States, designed to enhance tactical capabilities, boost efficiency, and position LVMPD as one of the nation's most technologically advanced police forces. All right. So let me know what you think down below. I think this technology is pretty tight. It's pretty cool. Very cool, that is. And the fact that, our police are, starting to integrate with the advancement of technology and AI. It just makes sense. All right. This person in the comment says, hope they run out of battery mid car chase. All right. Sounds like we have a criminal here in the comments who doesn't want the police to, successfully, get the bad guy. All right. This person, Bunny Carlos, in the comments says, "Remember when the Republicans were screaming about how they would never own or drive electric vehicles?" Yeah, yeah, I know, right? It was not too long ago when we had people out there destroying Tesla vehicles because they disagreed with Elon Musk being uh, in the government and being part of the Doge program. He no longer is, of course, as we know. But they were not too happy with Elon Musk and Tesla at one point, and now we have police officers driving Teslas. My have the tides turned. Crazy times we're living in. All right, and next up, for our last piece of news before we jump into our main topics of today's episode, we have Egypt's Great Museum opens. After 20 years and $1.5 billion invested, Egypt's Great Museum has finally opened. All right, so let's take a look first here at some of Egypt's Great Museum. And let's see how this money was spent exactly. $1.5 billion is a hefty price tag. Oh, it looks really cool. Oh, here you have the pyramids in the background. So it looks like it's near the pyramids, which makes sense. Pretty cool. And you have the day and night images. So one image here is during the day and the other at night. A lot of money went into this. Obviously, the architecture. I'm sure, and they make a lot of money every year. I assume from tourists and things of that nature. So, money well spent. Here we have the inside of it. Appears to be, or the steps from outside, or maybe this is inside. But this is nighttime here and daytime here on the inside. The inside is absolutely huge. Look at the roof has to be, 300 feet tall at least. Um, there's an entire, sculpture chilling in there. Pretty awesome. Here we have daytime and nighttime here. All right. This kind of reminds me of the movie Night at the Museum, right? Shout out to that movie, Ben Stiller. Here we have two daytime pictures. Here we have construction workers. I guess the construction workers of the museum, and here we have visitors of the museum. All right. So this is from the outside, from the sky view. We've got like a drone shot here. The pyramids in the background. And then we have here the museum, and not too far away. Definitely on my bucket list to go visit the pyramids. My dad actually, he was stationed out in Egypt for a little bit, and he did visit the pyramids, and he told me how amazing it was. So that's definitely something I need to do before I leave this earth. Let's look at some more pictures here. We have more inside pictures. All right. Pretty cool. Pretty cool. Even more pictures. All right. All right. Yeah, just very pristine. Architecture is beautiful. Very well designed. Obviously, a lot of time and effort went into the architecture and design. More pictures of the inside. Yeah, even more pictures. Here we have, it appears to be some of the Egyptians carved. It looks like there's some details of the Egyptians and who they are. So I would love to, read up on that and go and see for myself. Um, that'd be interesting. More pictures here of the inside. Very detailed, very clean, crisp. We have some pictures of the outside during the daytime here and at night here. Okay. And yeah, so it would just be awesome to go to Africa. I definitely have to go to Africa. And Egypt is definitely one of the places I have to go and stop at, go and see the Giza pyramids. So Egypt has inaugurated the Grand Egyptian Museum, the largest cultural preservation project in over 2 decades, located beside the Giza pyramids. The complex covers about 500,000 square meters. The full Tutankhamun collection is displayed together for the first time, featuring roughly 50,000 artifacts. Public entry begins November 4th. The opening is expected to reset Cairo tourism um, and give Egypt a modern home for its most famous antiquities. Okay, very cool, very cool. All right, so that's our last piece of news. And I have somebody calling me, but yeah, I'm live on the podcast, man. I can't answer. Sorry. Um, tune into the podcast, though. Tune into the pod. All right. So for our first topic of today's episode, we have your phone is listening and spying on you. If you didn't know, well, now you do. Your phone is listening to you 24/7, and here's the proof. All right, so let's see what's going on here. Many of us skeptical rather of our phones, and very rightfully so. Um, Here, it's happened to you. So has this ever happened to you? You mentioned needing new shoes. 10 minutes later, shoe ads appear everywhere on your phone. You said, I'm thinking about getting a dog. Next day, dog food ads flood your feed. You've never searched for it. You just said it out loud. Millions report this. Tech companies call it coincidence. But this is no coincidence. But here's what they don't want you to know. All right. So the patients exist, verified. All right. These are real patients filed. Patents. Okay. So patents, rather. The patents exist, verified. These are real patents filed by tech companies. Amazon in 2018, patent number 9,000, 9 million, whatever, long number there. Voice sniffling algorithm for detecting keywords in ambient conversation. Facebook 2016 patent number 9 yada yada yada. Technology to trigger audio recording based on specific words detected. In Google filed a patent in 2014 number 8,655,307 system for analyzing background audio to serve targeted ads. Why patent listening technology if you're not using it? But it gets worse. Whistleblowers come forward. Whistleblowers confirmed it in 2019 Bloomberg investigation. Facebook contractors admitted listening to user audio clips, heard private medical info, business deals, and intimate moments. So not only do they have the technology to listen in to you, they have actual people admitting to listening to you. In 2019, The Guardian exposed Google contractors listened to thousands of assistant recordings, captured bedroom conversations, fights, confidential business calls, and more. Okay, very creepy that they're listening in on your bedroom. So what do you talk about to perhaps your lover, your wife, your husband in your bedroom. It is not private, okay? They are listening to your intimate moments. In 2019, Apple admitted it after a whistleblower leak. Apple confessed Siri contractors heard drug deals, medical discussions, people having sex, called it quality control. Uh-oh. Apple listening in on your bedroom activities, ladies and gentlemen. If you have an iPhone, I recommend you bring it outside of the bedroom when you decide, to get intimate with your partner. All three admitted it after being caught. But how are they actually doing this? Let's find out how it really works. The truth, they don't need to listen 24/7. Here's the sophisticated system. Voice assistants, Siri, Alexa, Google Assistant must constantly monitor audio to detect wake words. Ah, they got you there. Okay, so, you know, if you have an Alexa device, it's always listening and waiting for you to say, "Hey Alexa, what time is it?" Or, whatever, how's the weather? Well, they're not just listening to you, ask it questions. They're listening to everything going on all the time. That monitoring data is analyzed for patterns, app permissions. Ever notice how many apps request microphone? Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, even shopping apps. When the app is open, the mic can be active. Ultrasonic beacons, verified in 2017, stores and TV ads emit sounds that you can't hear. Your phone's mic picks them up, tracks what you watch and where you go. The scary part, they don't even record everything. They just detect keywords, okay? So they're just listening in for, you to say something specific or make a specific noise, and bam, they got your ad popped up right there on your phone, when you check your phone or you're scrolling, right? That's how it works. So the keyword detection system, here's what experts discovered. Apps don't need to record full conversations. They use AI to detect specific words. If you say pregnant, then you'll get a pregnancy product ad. If you say the word lawyer, then boom, legal service ads pop up. If you say the word vacation, perhaps, boom, you got travel ads on your phone. Say I'm hungry, perhaps. There you go. Food delivery ads right there on your phone. No audio stored, just keywords flagged. This is why they can legally deny listening. They're detecting patterns, not recording conversations. In 2018 Northwestern University study confirmed apps weren't recording audio constantly, but they were capturing screen data and keywords when mic permission was granted. Want to test if your phone is doing this? All right. So, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, we all have them. And, most times they'll ask you, do you give us permission, to, listen, or for the mic to work, rather. And if you hit allow, boom, they got you. Now they're listening to you 24/7, night and day. All right. So you can try this at home, folks. It's called the 48-hour test. You want proof that this is working? Do this experiment right here. Choose a product you've never searched for. Example, dog wheelchair. If you don't have a dog, say it out loud. Say it out loud near your phone 10 to 15 times over 2 days. Do not type it. Do not search it. Just simply say it. Check your ads after 48 hours. Okay, folks. So I want you to give it a test at home. Say the word dog wheelchair over the next 2 days, 10 to 15 times, and report back to this video whether or not you get dog wheelchair ads on your phone. Okay, so results from thousands who tried it, 60 to 70% report getting ads for their for the exact product. 20% report related products. 10% report no change. So why doesn't it work for everyone? Because multiple factors affect targeting, and some apps listen more aggressively than others. But here's what's terrifying about the ones it does work for. All right. So this is why they'll never admit it. If tech companies admitted listening, billions of dollars in lawsuits, bam, wiretapping violations as well. So EU would ban them immediately. GDPR violations. Stock prices would crash. Okay, so less and less people would buy that product if they were to admit it, of course. They would also get criminal charges, perhaps, and mass user exodus. People simply not using the product anymore. So they use legal wordplay. Quote, we don't listen to your conversations. Translation, we analyze audio patterns, which isn't technically listening. It's just the algorithm. Translation, the algorithm uses data from multiple sources, including audio-based keyword detection. Also, so your activity is enough to predict this. Translation, plus the keywords we detected. So Mark Zuckerberg's 2018 congressional testimony, Senator, does Facebook listen to conversations for ads? Zuckerberg replies, no, Senator, but we do allow people to have the microphone permission. He never said Facebook can't, just that they don't in the way people think. Still think it's a conspiracy theory? Let's read on. Very creepy, very creepy. Stop it now works immediately. So do this right now. Go to your iPhone settings, go to privacy and security, then go to microphone, disable it for Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and all shopping and browser apps such as Amazon or Alibaba or Temu, okay? In your Android, if you're an Android user, go to privacy, permission manager, microphone, deny it for Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and all shopping apps. Both platforms. Turn off Hey Siri and OK Google. Don't use voice assistants. Use browser versions of apps instead of installing apps. Okay, so you can disable your Siri or your OK Google and, not use voice assistants, but, that takes away half the fun of the smartphone, okay? And say you have Instagram or Facebook and TikTok, like most of us out here do. Go ahead and
I don't understand.
oh, well, there you go. You have my AI listening right now. Hey Google, I didn't tell you to listen to me. Are you listening to me?
You can tell I'm listening when animated bars or dots appear on the left side of the screen. When I'm finding an answer, the dots will spin.
Okay, there you have it, folks. Case in point, they're always listening to you. Okay, I got my Google Home here, and she's just, steadily listening to me. I don't think she's very happy with the information that I'm sharing with you guys. But let's continue, because here on the Stormcast, we give you the best, up-to-date, most useful news and topics. All right, so you can also, use Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. You can use your Safari, and go to the actual website instead of installing the apps. But who does that? Not many people I know. So here's the nuclear option. The physical mic blocker for laptop, electrical tape over your phone mic when not calling, okay? So you can, physically get some tape and put it over your phone mic so it's not listening. Yes, it's extreme, but after what you're about to learn, maybe, you reconsider. Let's read on. So this is what they're not telling you. The listening is just the beginning. What's coming next? Already in development. in 2024 to 2025, real-time emotion detection from voice patterns. AI is going to know when you're sad, angry, or stressed. Ads target your emotional state. Between 2025 to 2026, health insurance companies buying voice data. Your conversations are going to be analyzed for signs of depression, substance abuse, risky behavior, and premiums adjusted accordingly. Between 2026 and 2027, voice data used in legal proceedings are going to be used in legal proceedings, all right? So divorce lawyers are divorce lawyers subpoena conversation data. Employers access employee recordings. In 2027, predictive advertising before you consciously want something. AI knows you're getting sick before you do. Voice pattern changes. Medication ads appear before symptoms arise. Your phone isn't just listening to sell you products, it's building a psychological profile of you that will allow you forever. The question, isn't it, is this real? Okay, so the question is, now that you know, what will you do out there? You let me know what you're going to do about this, okay? Are you going to perhaps tape over your phone mic when you're not using it? You're going to be that extreme, right? That seems, quite cumbersome, and you have to remember to do that every time you're not using your phone to make a call, or use Siri and whatnot. Or perhaps you decide, that you want to disable your app mic, or use the website browser to use apps, perhaps. There's options out there. There are options. I am interested to see what exactly the comments have to say about this topic. This person, Skane Hood, in the comments says, I've been thinking about winning $1 million. All right. This person says, Profit Root Co. in the comment says, we built the perfect wiretap and called it a smartphone. Patents turned paranoia into product design. This person in the comments, the Advanced Guard 1717 says, I already knew this. All right. So yeah, a lot of people may have already known this. Maybe you out there, you're fine with your phone listening to you. Perhaps, whatever. Not gonna make a big deal in my life, but a lot of people out there may be conscious of someone out there listening to them, and maybe that's you. Maybe you need to be worried about some of the things that you're talking about, perhaps. So yeah. Next, we have your phone is spying on you. So not only is your phone listening, it's also spying on you. Your phone is spying on you. See what data your smartphone quietly collects in just one day. All right. So while you sleep, the location pinged multiple times an hour overnight. Your data never sleeps, even when you do. Okay. So when, morning check-in, your apps track your movements constantly. Some log thousands of location points daily, mapping every step you take. All right. Every tap recorded. Most apps share personal data with third parties. Even what you read or watch becomes logged. All right. So, scary if you're on your phone, perhaps watching something that you shouldn't. All right. It's out there. They know. They know what you're watching. They know what you're watching at night, late at night. All right. Behind your back. Background apps constantly refresh, sending info to servers. Phones average dozens of silent connections every hour. Okay. Under the radar, microphones, gyroscopes, and Accelerometers collect information. Some apps even listen for ads or detect motion without permission. All right. Trackers everywhere. Nearly all apps hide trackers, sending data to Google, Facebook, or advertisers, profiling your behavior in detail. Okay, a lot of this information we just read up and we know now. Read up on. So timestamps tell tales. Photos, messages, and calls log time, location, and metadata. Every moment leaves a permanent digital trail. Okay, so they know exactly how long you're on your phone and how long you're talking to specific people, how long you're at specific locations. They know when you take your photos and where, and they know where you send your messages and when. So all in 24 hours, your phone may send hundreds of location points, megabytes of data, and thousands of behavioral signals daily to various locations and companies, and um, you know, to who knows, exactly who else is receiving this information. It's not so scary about what we know and who we know is listening in on our conversations, but who don't we know that's actually listening in and knowing our very important data out there. This person in the comment says, in the beginning when I started loving tech, I thought it was just a conspiracy, but as time passed, I realized it's real. This isn't just a conspiracy anymore. Now the question is, how do we keep ourselves safe? All right, good point. Good point. This so in the chat we have G. G says, "Crazy that happened." LOL. Shout out to G in the chat. Shout out to everybody in the chat. Currently we have 8 people watching, so shout out to everyone across YouTube and Twitter. Tapped in right now for today's episode. All right, for the next topic of today's episode, coming up next, we've got the worst habits to have. These here are the 10 most brain damaging habits you need to avoid today. All right, and let me know down below how many of these habits that you do on a daily basis, perhaps. All right, so first up, we have no breakfast. All right, so skipping breakfast or not eating breakfast can reduce glucose availability to the brain, leading to lower energy levels and decreased focus throughout the day. Next, we have overeating. Overeating or consuming excessive amounts of food can impair blood flow to the brain and increase inflammatory responses, which may negatively affect memory and cognitive performance. Next up, we have smoking. Smoking or exposure to toxins from cigarettes damages brain cells and restricts oxygen supply, accelerating cognitive decline over time. Next up, we have high sugar intake. Okay, so high sugar consumption or excessive sugar consumption can lead to insulin resistance within the brain, impairing learning, memory, and overall cognitive function. And out of these 4 right here, I would say that no breakfast. I do often skip breakfast. Okay, I usually fast up until around dinner time. I don't usually feel the need or urge to eat right when I wake up. I do actually right in the morning. I like to get about a mouthful of honey every morning. So perhaps that's saving me a bit. I do put something on my stomach, and that is some glucose, some very healthy glucose. And I usually like it because whenever I take honey, it's like a great pre-workout. I feel really energized and energized for my day. So, I can say I do have breakfast actually, the breaking of the fast. Overeating, I don't, well, whatever. Even if I did overeat, I think I can afford to overeat. I'm currently, trying to gain weight. But perhaps if you are obese or overweight already, overeating, could be a habit you would need to avoid. Smoking, okay, I not a smoker, so I don't have to worry about that. And high sugar consumption. I would say that as of recently, as I've been trying to gain weight, I've been eating a lot of desserts, okay, a lot of ice creams and cakes and brownies and things of that nature. So perhaps I need to watch it. Maybe I need to slow down on the sugar consumption. All right. Next up, for habits you need to avoid, the most uh, worst habits to have, we have air pollution or the inhalation of polluted air introduced um, harmful. So inhalation of polluted air introduces harmful toxins that promote brain inflammation and oxidative stress, contributing to neurodegeneration. And that's one of those habits that you sometimes you just can't avoid. Perhaps you live in a metropolis, a big city, Los Angeles, Las Vegas, New York City, Miami. If you live here, you simply cannot avoid air pollution, right? Next up, we have sleep deprivation or insufficient sleep uh, impairs the brain's ability to repair neurons, reducing memory consolidation and decision making capacities. Next up, we have sleeping with head covered. Covering the head while sleeping may reduce oxygen intake and increase carbon dioxide levels, negatively impacting brain function. Next up, we have overworking the brain during illness or working your brain during illness. When unwell, the brain's resources are limited. Excessive mental exertion can delay recovery and cause additional strain. All right, so out of these four, I would say, well, I don't really live in the biggest city, so I would say I'm pretty safe in that aspect of air pollution. But sleep deprivation, a lot of times, I do like to stay up late night doing various things, and maybe I don't get to sleep until around 2, 3 o'clock in the morning. Uh, I've been working on it. I've been working on getting a nice sleep schedule, trying to get to bed, earlier and, trying to get some REM sleep, getting my eyes shut at a certain hour each day. But it is hard to stay on that. But I've been working on it. And my head covered while sleeping. Now, that is one thing that I do often at night. I do like to cover my head at night. Like to turn the fan on nice and crispy, get the room nice and cold, and throw that cover right over the head. So maybe I should stop doing that, right? Maybe I'm not getting as much oxygen to the brain uh, as I should be, and working your brain during illness. Well, for the rare times that I do get perhaps sick or ill, I don't Well, that's actually one thing I do. I'm not gonna lie. When I do get sick or ill, I tend to like to do the opposite of what most people do. Is they like to sit around and lay down all day and rest. I tend to like to go outside and I try to like work out still and um, continue on doing the things that I would normally do. Right. So that's one of those things. It's bad habit, but I just feel better when I do work out and go outside and do things like that. All right, so next up on the worst habits to have, we have lacking in stimulating thoughts. Okay, so lack of mental stimulation or insufficient engagement in challenging cognitive activities can weaken neural connections and slow cognitive performance. All right, so scrolling on your phone all day or playing video games all day perhaps isn't the best thing. Perhaps you need to pick up a book, and challenge your brain. Perhaps do a couple crossword puzzles or play some chess or something of that nature. Challenge yourself, mentally. After we graduate school, oftentimes, we don't feel the need to study or read anymore, but you need to continue to work that big muscle up there, the brain, right? um Next up for worst habits to have, we have talking rarely. Interesting. So, limited social interaction, reduced communication, and social engagement may impair memory, emotional health, and mental sharpness due to decreased brain stimulation. Okay, and so as a single man, I find myself, you know, you know, not always talking. I have a lot of free time, a lot of time to myself, and perhaps I need to work on this. Being more social. I'm more you know, in the time of my life where, I'm a bachelor and I don't, I feel as though, I got my own house and I got my own, things. And so I don't feel as though I need to go out and socialize or get out as much. I kind of just seclude myself in my house, and that's that. But perhaps I need to, get out and talk more. Okay. Work on that. So next up, bad habits, the worst habits rather to have are high stress levels. So, maintaining a balanced lifestyle with adequate nutrition, sleep, social interaction, and mental activities is essential for preserving brain health. And uh, the last of the worst habits to have on our list is loud music. Okay, so again, one of those habits that I often indulge in. All right, so I'm always listening to loud music, and I just like my music loud. That's just it sounds the best when it's loud. All right, so yeah, that's just some of these things on this list just are just unavoidable. Perhaps I need to work on it though. And I want you to let me know down below how many of these habits you have or you believe you should probably work on. Um, the person in the comments here, Tony PZ says no breakfast is cap. Okay, yeah, that's I agree with that comment because I feel as though if I do eat breakfast, I have a crash throughout the day. I don't feel as motivated to do things, perhaps on a full stomach. And I have read studies as well, the benefits of fasting. Here on the podcast, we've talked about fasting and the benefits. And so, what is breakfast? Defined as exactly. Breaking of the fast, and that can be done at any time throughout the day. This person in the comments, John Yon underscore the spot says also fasting or intermittent fasting is good for your body, especially in the morning hours. Okay, so maybe perhaps this list isn't perhaps the most accurate for each specific person, but each one makes sense in its own merits. They also say, please note, this is not intended as medical advice. Consult a healthcare professional for personalized recommendations. All right. So, you know, life is, variable, right? Each person is different. We each have our own biology. And what works for me may not work for you, and vice versa. So always, talk to your healthcare professional for your most optimized and tailored advice. So let's move on to our next topic. Here we have 7 things that are actually unsafe. 7 things you are told are safe, but are actually aren't. Okay. So we trust these products, habits, even foods that are told, we're told that these are completely safe. But behind the comfort lies danger most people never see. These 7 things might be far riskier than you've ever imagined. First on our list, we have non-stick cookware or Teflon. It releases toxic fumes when overheated, linked to cancer and hormonal disruption. How many of you out there use Teflon or non-stick cookware because you were told it was safer, perhaps, than other options? All right, so we now know that it will disrupt your hormones and perhaps give you cancer. Next up on our list of 7 things that are actually unsafe, we have hand sanitizers. Some contain methanol or benzene, banned in many countries. yet still sold. All right. So I always knew from an early age that perhaps hand sanitizers weren't the best because my skin always gets really dry after using it. And I figured, this isn't, this doesn't feel right, right? Perhaps you use hand sanitizers. That's something that you use in school. They tell you to use hand sanitizers, but we know it's perhaps, not safe and contains hazardous chemicals, yet still being sold on the market. Next up, we have tap water in the United States. Tap water in the United States, in thousands of areas, have dangerous levels of lead or PFAs or forever chemicals. Okay, so these are chemicals that are hazardous to your health and are chemicals that are cannot be removed perhaps in the bloodstream. um, so not good. So if you are drinking tap water, perhaps switch to a different source, perhaps a purified brand that you trust. And but we also know that plastic bottles are not safe because they leach chemicals into the bloodstream and BPA's as well, and microplastics. Um, so, you know, if you are using tap water, perhaps try to switch to a different source. And if you do drink the water, perhaps try to drink in a glass bottle. All right. And next up, we have microwaving plastic containers. It releases microplastics and endocrine disrupting chemicals into food. Okay, endocrine disrupting chemicals, which disrupt your hormones and throw you off in that way. So if you are, perhaps using plastic containers, don't microwave it. Your food in plastic containers. Yeah, I don't necessarily use the microwave. I've stopped using the microwave for a while now. Just because I figure, microwaves, sending waves of what? Nuclear radiation. It just don't feel right when I could just use an oven, right, or something like that. But if you are in a pinch or in a bind, or you have a short work break and you need to use, the microwave for whatever reason, perhaps using a glass bowl, or yeah. So next on our list, we have, after that gets all, we have here blue light from screens. It suppresses melatonin, causes sleep disruption, and accelerates eye aging. And I think most people deal with this problem, perhaps scrolling on their phone late at night, or just scrolling on your computer, being in front of a screen all day, staring at a screen. We now know that it disrupts your sleep patterns and accelerates your eye aging. All right. Next on our list of 7 things that are actually unsafe, we have air fresheners, often loaded with uh, phthalates and box trigger asthma and hormone issues. All right, so we often use our Febreze or other air fresheners after perhaps using the bathroom, or for whatever reason. We now know that air fresheners are not good and inhaling air fresheners. And these are 7 things that you might have not known. We actually have one more on the list. Let's lastly on our list, we have of 7 things that are actually unsafe. We have sunscreens with oxybenzone linked to hormone disruption and coral bleaching banned in parts of Hawaii. All right, so if you are someone who uses sunscreen, I don't think I've ever used sunscreen in my life. Uh, I was always told that black people should use sunscreen, but I figure why? I don't necessarily gets sunburnt at the rate of perhaps a white person would. All my white friends growing up would use sunscreen, and I'd be like, "No, I'm okay." They'd ask me if I want some, and I'm like, "Yeah, I'm okay. I'm okay. I don't need sunscreen, right?" But if you are perhaps under the umbrella of someone who uses sunscreen, perhaps try using something that is a natural sunscreen. I believe they have natural sunscreens out there that don't have these oxybenzone chemicals and things of that nature. So here we have on the podcast some more very useful information for you. I hope you found that informative, and I want you to let me know down below which of those 7 things that are actually unsafe that you engage in, or perhaps all of them. Perhaps you do all of them. Now, well, you need to perhaps rethink how you're living. All right. So this person in the comments, BarrelTech89, says, "What will be? What will be? Just live your life." Okay, that's one way to look at things. But if you can prevent cancer early, early detection is key. Then why not, right? I'm just here. I'm just the mess. Don't shoot the messenger. All right. Here we have Woozy Only in the comments says, "Okay, so everything I'm doing. Okay, got it. Yeah, man. Information is information. And hard information. Is not always. It's not always good to hear, but it's important to know." All right. The next one's pretty interesting. We've got the future. All right. So, life in the year 2030 and things that could exist by 2050, cities in 2050, and developments that will shape our future. So, first we have here your life in 2030. The future is closer than you think. All right. So let's see what life in 2030 may look like. All right, so in 2030, your transport, Samsung's 2024 battery breakthrough, 600-mile range, 9-minute charging. Production starts in 2027. Your EV or electrical vehicle will outlast gas cars and charge faster than refueling. Okay, so we have, electrical vehicles set to take over here soon. We already have Teslas and electrical vehicles that are dominating the roadways. But they're estimating by 2027 that'll be our main transport. Next up for life in 2030, perhaps we have your work, how you'll make income. Humanoid robots earned factory paychecks in 2024. By 2030, they handle repetitive work while you focus on creativity, job transformation, not replacement. Okay. So, one of the most common topics as of late here on the StormCast of humanoid robots. Well, they believe here soon that they are going to pretty much take over and you'll need to adapt. All right, and we're already seeing that. Robots have already earned paychecks in 2024. Incredibly enough. Okay, so how you'll get your energy in 2030. Fusion energy achieved 8 times power output in 2025. By 2030, your home runs on the same power that lights stars. Near zero cost, zero emissions, energy scarcity ends. All right, so the way you know, power your homes. And things of that nature, there it's going to be completely replaced by fusion energy, they believe. And next on our list of life in 2030, we have your health. CRISPR, which we've talked about on the podcast before, the gene editing software, cured its first patient in 2023. Neuralink implanted human brains in 2024, something we've also talked about in length on the podcast. By 2030, genetic diseases get cured with single treatments. Paralysis becomes treatable. We're erasing illness at the DNA level. And to me, this is so far the most, hopeful, and the most, something I'm looking forward to the most is Neuralink, all right, and and other genetic diseases being cured with CRISPR and things like Neuralink, because paralysis is said to be cured. Spinal cord injury, a thing of the past. Wheelchairs, people in wheelchairs, being liberated from the wheelchairs and walking again. Such people such as myself, right? All right. Next up on our list of what life will be like in 2030, your commute, how you get around. Joby Aviation's hydrogen air taxi flew 523 miles in 2024, commercial launch in 2028. You'll skip traffic completely and fly downtown in minutes. The flying car future is here. Okay, flying cars. We've talked about it forever. Movies, since forever have been, you know, predicting the flying cars. Where are flying cars? Everyone is asking. Well, in 2030, um, we should have them. Okay, we already have a air taxi that has flew 523 miles rather in 2024. So they are on the horizon. The future is on the way, ladies and gentlemen. All right, so that is everything for the life in 2030. Continuing on our topic of the future, we have things that could exist by 2050. All right, let's check this out. First on our list, we have human level AI. Experts predict AI systems will match human reasoning and creativity within 25 years, changing every job, classroom, and city. Okay, we talk all about humanoid robots here on the podcast, and human level AI is AI systems will be here within 25 years. Okay, seems like a long time away, but perhaps sooner. All right, and this is going to completely revolutionize how we do jobs, how we attend school, how cities look, how we get our food, how we travel, and so on and so forth. Next on our list of things that could exist by 2050, we have fusion power. We just talked about fusion power. Scientists are closing in on reactors that produce clean, endless energy by recreating the sun's process here on Earth. Okay, exciting. That's gonna completely, revolutionize vehicles, how we, power our homes, and the list goes on. Next up, we have asteroid mining. Private companies plan to harvest metals from asteroids worth trillions. One rock could hold more platinum than Earth has ever mined. Okay, so say we do get, the technology to be able to mine an asteroid. These asteroids have metals, precious metals, that could make everyone here on Earth a billionaire, 3 times over. Just how much, how much uh, uh, resources, that we could extract from, these asteroids. Okay, but of course, there's always going to be the rich and the powerful and the wealthy, and those that don't want to see everyone be wealthy. Because if you eliminate the slave class, then who is there to pick our strawberries or build our homes or tend to our livestock? Well, my response to that is humanoid robots. Okay, we've talked about it in length here on the pod, and so that's going to completely replace those of us having to work slave jobs, 9 to 5s, things of that nature. All right, next up, on things that could exist by 2050, we have space elevators. We've talked already about space elevators here on the podcast. A cable stretching 36,000 kilometers into orbit could carry cargo to space without rockets. Engineers already have working carbon nanotubes, nanotube fibers, rather. Okay, so elevators that take us to space, perhaps from one location on Earth to another location in a very quick amount of time, very, very quickly. All right. Next up, we have quantum internet. Future networks may use entangled particles to send unhackable data at near instant speeds anywhere on Earth. Okay, so quantum internet. All right, you don't have to worry about your phone losing signal anymore. We have gonna have the fastest internet to ever be conceived, and data that can get from one location on Earth, to the other end of Earth instantly. Amazing, amazing times we're living in, folks. Quantum internet. Next up on our list of things that could exist by 2050, we have brain computer interfaces. Okay, neural chips could let people type, draw, or even talk using only their thoughts. Early prototypes already exist in labs. Okay, so we know about brain computer interfaces here. We've talked about Neuralink and other competing companies. Okay, they're already here, but we are simply, in the process of the advancement of them and seeing them, become better and better and more reliable. And soon we'll all have brain chips in our head and we'll be able to communicate with each other using only our thoughts. All right. Pretty amazing stuff. Next up on our list, we have underwater cities. Architects are designing floating and submerged habitats powered by ocean currents and algae-based energy systems. Okay, would you want to live underwater in Atlantis? Perhaps. It would seem scary at first. Perhaps. If you've ever been to an underwater aquarium, it's pretty interesting. But entire cities underwater, very exciting. Next up on our list of things that could exist by 2050, we have personalized medicine. AI and gene editing will tailor treatments to your DNA. Drugs could be designed specifically for one single patient. Okay, imagine having a medicine designed specifically for you that no other person that it works for. It's specific to your DNA and your gene pool. Okay, it's right around the corner. you know CRISPR and companies like that are already editing DNA, and soon we'll have AI gene editing. Pretty exciting. And last on our list of things that can exist by 2050, we have colonies on Mars. Space agencies expect permanent human bases on Mars by the 2040s, supported by 3D printed shelters and local resource mining. All right. Would you want to live on Mars away from Earth? Well, soon that will be a possibility. All right. So I'll let you guys be the judge um, of how life is on Mars. Personally, I like it here on Earth a lot more than I think I would on Mars. But perhaps you would think it's cool to go live somewhere else. Perhaps you don't like it here on Earth. It's too hard here. You have to do too much. You have to work too hard, or whatever the case may be. Well, there's a new life for you soon on Mars. So just stay alive, folks. The future is coming. The future is here, and it's not going to be too far away before these things are actually happening. This person in the comments says, SR Brent, shout out to SR Brent, says, how about a flourishing ecosystem? Okay. This person in the comments says, meanwhile, we're just trying to survive rent. Yeah. Well, my rebuttal is, they'll pay you to go live on Mars, right? You're tired of rent here on Earth and the daily struggles of capitalism. Well, you can go live on Mars. All right. Continuing on the future, we have what life was like in 1970 in America versus 50 years later, now in 2025, how life is. All right. So, minimum wage. All right. So, minimum wage in 1970 was $1.40 per hour. Now in 2025, $7.25 an hour. Okay. Something to keep in mind. With increasing cost of living, inflation, uh, everything's going up. Recently, my massage therapist that I see once every couple weeks just told me that my massages are going to be going up here soon. And that's fine with me. It doesn't bother me. I don't mind paying my massage therapist. But perhaps you're dealing with something even more serious in your life that you don't increasing rent would completely destroy your way of life. Perhaps you just can't afford the increase of life. We know that houses are increasing in price, and everything. You go to the grocery store, everything seems to be more expensive than when you were a child, right? And that's just how things are going to continue to swing along here in America and everywhere else in the world. In America in 1970, the average house cost was $23,000 and $23,450 rather. Here now in 2025, the average home cost $412,000. Okay, so one thing to keep in mind. In 1970, or let's go back a little bit. So in 1970, groceries, the cost of an egg was 61 cents for a dozen, potatoes 9 cents, milk 57 cents. Now in 2025, a dozen of eggs cost $9.73, potatoes $3.90 per bag, milk $4.06 per carton. All right. Groceries going up. In 1970, a college degree cost $394. All right. 2025 now, a college degree costs $37,000 and $37,279. I can't read numbers today, apparently. So, first of all, unless you're getting a STEM degree in the first place, I don't recommend going to college. All right, just my personal recommendation. Unless you see yourself doing something with your degree. All right, I saw a statistic earlier today, actually, that college graduates, 52% of college graduates are without a job. Okay, so more than half of college graduates don't even end up getting a job in what they go to college for. You spend $37,000 to sit at home with mom and work at Walmart. All right, not good. In 1970, the price of gas cost 36 cents a gallon. Now today, gas costs $3.82 per gallon. All right. So today, the average American spends $1,850 a month on rent, $691 a month on their car, $823 a month on food. That's $3,364 every single month before you see a doctor, fix a tooth, or repair your car. So those are just the costs of daily living, daily month spending before something serious happens, like you have to go unforeseen visit to a doctor. Perhaps you need a quick pulling of your tooth at the dentist, or your car goes out on the side of the road, and you need to repair it. So basically, you're just surviving. And no, skipping Starbucks isn't going to fix it. All right. The real problem is that salaries are just not keeping up. That's how I realized a few years ago, and this is from Eric Cole on Twitter. That's how I realized a few years ago that trading my time for money just won't give me the time that my family deserves, the freedom and income that I deserve, which is why I started building extra income streams that generate me cash flow passively. All right, so ladies and gentlemen, the 9 to 5 scam that we've all been sold, from our early age. You go to college, you go to school, then you go to college, and you earn a degree, use that degree to get a job, and that job is what's gonna, pay you X amount of money, depending on what you went to college for, right? So we now know that that's a scam, okay? Most earners are gonna be made through entrepreneurship, athletes, entertainers, but mostly entrepreneurs, right? So if you haven't already started to make income passively through a passive income stream, now is the time more than ever to do so. All right. So you can buy back your freedom and replace that 9 to 5 job that you work at. All right. So yeah, that's pretty much it for life in 1970 versus 2025. That's a little bit of future for this topic. I kind of mixed it in there. Just found it interesting. And yeah, I mean, I wasn't alive in 1970, but I'm sure, it was a great time to be alive when, eggs were $7 per carton of egg, per dozen of eggs, right? This person in the comment says, let's make America great again. All right. This person says minimum wage is $16. I wish it was $7, but I'd be a multimillionaire. All right. That doesn't really make sense. Minimum wage is $16. I wish it was $7. I'd be a multi. Okay, that doesn't. All right. That's why it's not always good to read the comments. Some people, a lot of bots in the comments sometimes. All right. So for the last article for this topic of the future that I am sharing with you for today's episode, we have mind-blowing developments that will shape the future of the human mind. So developments that will shape our future. So let's check out the first development here on our list. We have neural implants will make telepathic communication between humans possible. All right, talked about that quite a couple times here on today's podcast. But yeah, we'll all soon, be forced, to get neural implants. And if you're one of those people that are like, I'm not letting anybody, drill into my brain, into my head, and place a device into my head. Well, okay, you have that right. I'm sure, that freedom. You have free will. But if you don't, you won't be able to communicate with someone who does, and you won't, they'll be far ahead of you. Technologically, they'll be able to do things that you can't at a faster rate. They'll be, seen as better on the job market because they have the neural implant. They'll be smarter than you, essentially, and more capable than you. So you'll be pretty much forced to get a neural implant. All right. Next up on our list of developments that are going to shape our future, you'll have the ability to preserve and share your memories digitally for future generations to experience. Okay. So, say you want to, have the memories of, share with your grandkids the memories of back when you were a football player, a star athlete, perhaps, and you want them to be able to experience that, or to know exactly how grandpa used to be back in the day, how much of a ladies' man grandpa was. Well, now, future generations will be able to experience just how cool grandpa used to be, right? Next up on our list, we have virtual reality will let you experience entire lifetimes within immersive simulated worlds. All right. So VR is already here. It's getting better and better. More companies are jumping on board virtual reality. Um, a lot of you out there may have already experienced virtual reality with, you know, um, Apple has their own virtual reality. There's a lot of different VRs out there. Well, they believe virtual reality will let you experience entire lifetimes within seconds, in simulated worlds. So, you know, pretty interesting stuff that we'll be able to, people are going to be addicted to virtual reality. People are going to, not even, they're going to completely zone out of real life, and they're going to be spending their entire existence here in virtual reality soon. Next up, we have human consciousness will have the capability to exist in a fully digital form. Okay, so this is definitely a breakthrough. This will redefine human evolution completely. Next up on our list, we have teleportation technology will be developed, enabling instant travel across any distance. All right, so where we once think superpower to be able to teleport. Well, it's no longer going to be a superpower. It's going to be a piece of basic technology that you'll be able to access, and you'll be able to get from one location to another instantly, perhaps. All right. This is all speculative, of course, but why not, right? The technology is, advancing, and it's on its way, and it's, constantly, we see it constantly getting more and more advanced before our very eyes. So next up on our list of developments that will shape our future, we have people will be able to acquire new languages and skills within minutes by directly downloading them into their brains. Okay, so no longer do we need to go to school or sit down at a trade and learn from an apprentice. Soon here we'll be able to plug into our Neuralink device in our brains and plug in a code which lets us learn Chinese within seconds, or perhaps how to change a tire, or whatever other skill that you need to learn. We'll be able to learn it instantaneously. All right. Next up on our list, we have humans will enhance and extend their lifespan through advanced brain augmentation technologies. Okay, we talked about, a lot of companies out there already working on longevity and how to extend human life. Soon, we believe, your lifespan is going to be able to be extended through brain augmentation technologies. All right. So, you plug into a system which recodes your DNA, allowing you to not only live longer, but, fight and cure whatever illness you have, and, live a not only a longer life, but a healthier one, increasing lifespan and health span. Next up on our list, we have, okay, so that's it. That is it for the future. The future is now, ladies and gentlemen. And also, that is the end of today's episode, ladies. That is our episode for today. All right, as always, the StormCast is everywhere you find podcasts. So subscribe on YouTube, drop a 5-star review on Spotify, and follow us on Instagram at the StormCast, Twitter at the StormCast, and XX Mickens is my personal, and Rumble at XX Mickens. All right. Your support on Patreon also keeps us going strong. All links down in the description. All right. I just want to thank everyone who has tuned into today's episode. Currently, we have 10 live viewers. Shout out to everybody in the chat, Debbie's in the chat, everybody who contributes to today's episode, everybody who supports the StormCast and keeps me going strong and motivated to make these episodes by supporting the Patreon for only $4.99 a month. You can help the show out in that way if you feel inclined to, of course. And yeah, with that being said, I just want to, if encourage you guys, if you want to provide feedback, let me know. Ask some questions down in the chat. What's your thoughts on today's episode? Good or bad? Happy or sad? And I'm gonna leave you guys with a quote for today's episode. Lately, I like to leave you guys with a quote that I find inspiring, and perhaps you find it inspiring or helpful in your life. Okay, so today's quote is: the moment you are disturbed by insult or pleased by praise, you are still a slave. And that comes from Stoic philosopher Epictetus. So to me, what that means is if someone can insult you and ruin your peace, they essentially control you. Okay, so if someone can praise you and give you so if someone can praise you or give you a compliment and inflate your ego, they also control you. Okay. So in both cases, your emotional state is being dictated by others, meaning you're not free. You're a slave to their opinions. Okay. So other people's opinions don't matter, although helpful, and you encourage feedback from others. It essentially doesn't matter. You stay on your path, you do what you feel is what you believe and love. And at the end of the day, that is what matters, ladies and gentlemen. So, with that being said, I wish all of you a beautiful night. Stay beautiful. I love you so much. Stay stormy. And I'll see you on the next episode. Bye, everybody.